Hi, and welcome to the Adobe Illustrator in Under 10 tutorial series where we discuss techniques in Adobe Illustrator in under 10 minutes. And in this particular session, we are going to discuss the Pathfinder panel, which can be found in your menu under Window and Pathfinder. When you click that, you'll notice that a Pathfinder panel will pop out. And this is all we're covering. Although there is a second Pathfinder area, which is under your Effects menu, and then Pathfinder, you'll notice we're not covering that because there are three options: hard mix, soft mix, and trap, that we will not be discussing. So we're just doing it with the panel, and this is the fastest way and the most commonly used. So this is what you want to get familiar with. So let's get started. The first thing you want to do is drag some shapes out onto your board. I've chosen 3 rectangles, 2 spheres, and I've made the rectangles different colors and layered them so that way you can see where they're falling with respect to one another. The first option in our window in the upper left under shape modes is to unite. So we would click these, highlight them all, go back and click that button, and you'll notice, just like it says, it unites them. And it takes on the color property of the object that was highest in the layers panel. So we'll undo that. And you'll notice that it took on this rectangle's color property, but the shape property of all of them combined, where the parts that were overlapping are not shown. So the second portion is going to be to minus front. And we're going to just select 2 options for this, or 2 objects. And when we do that and click minus front, you'll notice the topmost object gets deleted from the bottommost object of your selection, of course. Now, if you wanted to do that with multiple objects, you would actually have to combine those objects first and then select that with a new object and minus it to get that effect. And just so you could see how this actually works, we'll do it like this so you can see the combination of both shapes. Now, sometimes when you do it, you will get clipped pieces that will actually be separate from the whole piece. But we're going to go back, bring these shapes back, and now we're going to go through to the next option, and this is to intersect. And if you look at this, you can see what it's actually doing. This is only combining the section of the shapes that overlap. So let's go here and click these 2, and let's click intersect, and it only gives us the shape or the portion that was overlapping. We'll do the same for these because they're on top. So let's click that. And now you can see the portion that was overlapping. This is the corner of the square or the rectangle, and this is the bottom of the sphere. Now, if we were to go to the last option, that is to exclude, and that's going to get rid of any spaces that do overlap as opposed to just showing the ones that overlap. So let's go here. We're going to go exclude, and now you'll notice the area where it overlapped is now open and vacant. Very simple. If you want to do it with multiple shapes, you would have to, again, merge those shapes and combine them before going ahead and doing that. Now, this brings us to our Pathfinder section of this actual panel. The first option is divide. Dividing is simple. This is going to break it up into its relatively smaller parts. And it doesn't delete anything, it doesn't exclude anything, but what it allows you to do is manipulate those parts as they're broken up. So we're going to click 2 of these, and we're going to click divide. And when we do that, it looks like nothing has happened. But if you look really, really closely, and we're going to zoom in, you'll notice you can kind of see a bit of an empty space right here. And that's because it's been divided. And we can now move these shapes independent of each other because it's taken the sections that overlap and split them up. And now we're back to where we were. And let's go back here. Now, our other option that's next is to trim. Now, what I like about trim is if we were to select all of these and we were to click trim, this to me is best for people who are doing screen printing and you have multiple colors. This allows you to break the colors apart into separations just like you would for screen printing, and all it does is it takes those shapes and it starts at the points where they're overlapping in the layers panel, and it cuts that portion out. So if I were to move this, right now it's showing as one piece. Let's move this. Let's move that and this. And now you see where each of these shapes were previously overlapping the other shape. And of course, I'm not putting this back exact, but you get the point. So let's go back and remove that. And now you understand how the actual trim function works. Now the merge function is very similar to the unite function, except it's not going to, let's click this, and we're going to click merge. This does the same thing that the trim does, but if you had colors that were adjacent. We're going to bring this back to where it was. So let's bring these two together, right? And let's leave this here. And let's actually change the hierarchy of that. And if we were to grab these now and we were to click merge, you'll notice that it combined the shapes of similar color, but it left the ones of different color alone, and it broke those up. Whereas when you did trim, it just broke everything up, regardless of whether they were the same color or not. But if they're the same color, it merges them in this actual option. So let's go back to where we were before. All right, and now that we have these, we're going to move on to our next section. Now the next one is to crop, and cropping is essentially the same thing as we're doing with intersect, except let's go and click these two, and let's go and click crop. Now what you'll notice is that we still have the bounding box for the original shape. That shape doesn't technically disappear, it just acts as a masking area for the new shape. So if we were to, let's hide this and let's go back. You'll notice now whenever I click on it, I can see this actual mask in form of the bounding box of the previous shape. Okay, so let's go back and we're going to bring our panel back out. And then the next one we're going to cover is outline. Outline is very simple, fairly easy. All you're going to do, let's say we select these and we click outline. And now we have outlines of each of the shapes. And it's just in the color of the actual shapes that we had. So when we click this, right, we notice that it's now a stroke, but it's set at 0 points. If we wanted to increase it, we can now change it and add to that actual point. All right, and we can increase it so that we can see it for all of them. But this is what the actual outline option does. It allows you to set outlines in a thinner manner than you would normally with a stroke. So that way you can see where these objects are overlapping and where they intersect. Now the very last option is similar to one we covered earlier, but this is minus back, whereas in the beginning we did minus front. And where minus front took away the top object from whatever was below it. Minus back is going to take the back object from whatever is above it. So let's say we cover these two. We click minus back. Now that back object is gone, and we just have the top object in that shape. So this panel is very useful. It's easy to get accustomed to. Just take your time, review it, and you'll get the hang of it in no time. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You can find me online, www.theonewillfocus.com, or on all social media at TheOneWillFocus, all spelled out, TheOneWillFocus. And I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial. Take care.